Musa Izulu. Wow.
We finally get to sit down and
What
talk.
an honor.
What an honor to Liz. It's not every day that I'm ever accorded the opportunity to talk to someone that I know so well. So I guess this is today. Ngiyabonga.
Indeed, it is today.
Yeah.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
Some stories, Musa, don't begin with a speech.
Yeah.
They don't begin with a speech.
Yeah.
But they begin with a phone ringing in the dark. Tonight, I want us to go back to 1995. 20 April to be precise.
Yeah.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The house was still. The world was asleep. And then the phone rings. And I remember very well, it was a nurse from Ntabeni Hospital. She was on the other line. And this person here,
Yeah.
your younger sister,
Yeah.
still half asleep.
Yeah.
And I was wholly unprepared for what I was about to hear. I answered that call. I answered that call, and I held those news in my hands, and I was not ready yet to hear them. And because of that, and because of the shock that moved through my system, I dropped the phone, Musa,
Yeah.
and I went back to sleep.
Yeah.
I went back to sleep not because I didn't care. I went back to sleep because some truths arrive before the soul has had time to really process them. It was our mother that answered the second time. And she was the one that carried all of us when we heard that news. And that night, the 20th of April, 1995,
Yeah.
our family learned that my brother, who's sitting right here, had just become paralyzed. And I want to emphasize that this is not where the story ended. In fact, Musa, that is where the story began.
Yeah.
Because in the years that followed, I watched something extraordinary happen. I watched a man refuse to be defined by a single April morning. I watched him strip away the noise, the limitations, the pity, the low expectations. And I watched you, Musa, stand tall, and I literally mean it, stand tall, unapologetic, in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. And I must say, as your younger sister watching this, I was awestruck, because I don't know where you got that, where you put that from, how you were able to silence that noise. So that man, ladies and gentlemen, is sitting with me today. The one who showed me long before that fateful night what it means to me to live with your whole chest, to lead with quiet thunder, because thunder is what you are, to rise not in spite of your story, but because of it.
Yeah.
And it is the greatest honor of my life today to welcome you, my brother, on my podcast.
What an honor, and what a beautiful introduction to what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Musa Izulu.
Musa Izulu, yes.
Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about yourself, Musa.
Yeah.
Who are you? What drives you?
I guess what always drove me, and this was even way before the accident, was taking a chance. I've always believed that life is an opportunity given to us, and it's only going to be truly enjoyed or even realized by those that are willing to take a chance on opportunity and make something out of it. And because I was a person of that type of philosophy, I never really entertained endings.
Uh-huh.
So when the 20th of April happened, as terrible as it was, my mind always geared towards opportunity, said to me, hey, you have been given a second chance. Because truth is, there are so many people that have died in road accidents. I was literally given a second chance. I could have died. So from that perspective, I knew that I had to take each day as it comes, see what it presents to me, new opportunities if there were going to be any. But what became even easier for me is that I came from a closely knit family. Not only closely knit, but also pretty highly educated. And if you come from such a background, it easily becomes your safety net. If you are the type of a person that always appreciates reality as an opportunity. So my family background was always an opportunity that I was never going to doubt could take me far, even if things changed. And of course, over the years, one of my firm stands or solid foundation has been my family. From the time I was paralyzed, I went back home to my brothers, to my sisters. Never really had a caregiver. My own family members cared for me on a 24-hour, 365 days basis.
Yeah.
Now, for another person who, number one, does not have a closely knit family background as a safety net, they've already lost when I have point number one. For another person that is injured and goes back to a stranger as a caregiver,
Yeah.
they've already lost.
Yeah.
And I have a family member as a caregiver. 2 points to me. I also had an education. I said to you, I come from a highly educated family. That my legs were not working, with a qualification in human resources, I could still go and work anyway. So all of those things, of course, the door opened by a mindset that says everything is opportunity. I knew that I really did not stand any chance to lose. I almost had everything to win back
Yeah.
because I already had a solid foundation that could take me anywhere. So
What-
instead of being a turning point, yes, it became a turning point. It literally became yet another playground to demonstrate that a mindset that always looks forward to opportunity or at things as opportunity, so much else could happen. And we're going to be talking about this as we go through. Yeah.
Now, Musa, let's go back. I sit from a point of privilege, having observed you
Yeah.
as you were growing up.
Yeah.
A very fun, loving character, always out there.
Yeah.
You loved your feet.
Yes, I did.
You walked
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, I want us to go back to the time
Yeah.
when you were Musa known as Dibabozos,
D-Man,
D-Man,
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to understand from that time, what noise shaped how you saw yourself and your body? What were people saying that shaped the way that you saw your body?
People are very good at complimenting that which goes towards greatness. You say I grew up loving to walk. Not only did I love walking, I also loved moonwalking like Michael Jackson.
I remember.
And the more people said, hey, you seem to have the same fire, that's the type of noise, Mina, that always moved me. Even when I was with the Brotherhood as we were growing up, there were certain jokes we would tell and you would see people nodding like, hey, that was fire. All of those things. Then we would share ideas and someone would say, that's a very good idea, Musa. What always shaped my mind, Mina, was positive vibrations. I rarely find myself thriving in a situation where negativity seems to be the order of the day. The noise that I always want to listen to from the outside is positive noise from people that say you seem to be able to, not to be disabled, not to fulfill your dreams. But inside, I also had a positive spark that always told me I could be anything. number one, I had been introduced into a world as much as South Africa was what it was. I had a family background that already thrust my eyes outwards. I had celebrities that I already knew as a child that I looked up to, and always wanted to find it in me if I could also rise and climb such heights. Those were the noises up until today. I also, as an opportunist, always had an ear and also a nose for fresh starts. So when I was paralyzed, I deployed those instruments. In a world where people were not talking about disability, I knew there was an opportunity to write a book and probably be the first African, because there were white people that had already written and were with disabilities. But there was no book by a person with an African with a disability and with a nose and an ear for freshness. I knew that it was fresh, fertile ground that I could explore and find my feet.
Let's go back. I'm keen to explore this before.
Yeah.
Even more.
Yeah.
So you, if I'm hearing you well, you are saying even though there was noise,
Yeah.
you tended to just suppress the negative noise and only
Yeah.
take the positive that had with you. You are called D-men.
Yeah.
D-men,
Yes.
as in the men. They also call you Diba Bozos.
Yes.
So obviously this is bound to come into your head.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in finding out is that at that time, when you were D-man,
Yeah.
walking the rope, playing
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
the girls were always attracted to you.
Yeah.
What belief did you have at that time about strength, about independence, and about masculinity that you felt you had to live up to?
Oh, growing up in a male-dominated society, a macho image was what we all wanted to adopt in order to survive in the jungle of the brotherhood. There was always someone that was going to take the spotlight if you were not going to rise to the occasion. I guess in a society where people are scrambling for resources, we always want to find ourselves standing on the top. The same was with Africans during apartheid. You never really wanted to be relegated to the sideline. As much as life was tough, you always had just to position yourself where you could dictate terms. And of course, the male world is fascinating because we really are competing. Competing, number one, for the spotlight, so as to be seen by even the female element.
So that you become D-men.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to be D-men, you needed to conquer the brotherhood first. It is boys that have to say this is the man, before even women say so. Because if boys say so, it means you have really conquered in the jungle. That philosophy, again, sorry to be bouncing back and forth,
No, it's fine, it's fine.
but
Go
I
ahead.
have to,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, my story has been that of continuity than just fresh beginnings. I am really what I used to be, because the principles that used to carry me through are still the principles that carry me through right now. When I was paralyzed, I never really wanted to even use the word disability, because I did not understand. Yes, I could not walk, but if walking is an act of moving from point A to point B and I could still do it in a wheelchair, it means I was not immobilized. So the DIS of disability always was a very comfortable, discomfortable. Is there anything like discomfortable? I guess so, if there's discomfort.
Yeah.
I was a bit uncomfortable
Yeah.
with anything that began with the prefix DIS.
Yeah.
Disabled, disliked, disempowered, disenfranchised. To be very honest with you, even when I was still living in apartheid South Africa, I found it very difficult defining myself as disempowered. Anything with the prefix DIS connotes the negative. Up until today, I would never define myself as a person from a previously disadvantaged background. What is disadvantage? If today we are looking at society collapsing because family is no longer at the center or at the core of life, it means people from old South Africa, where family was still at the core of social interactions, were much more empowered than ourselves today. So I cannot say I come from a disempowered background when there was an element of family that shaped me, that pointed at empowerment. Because many people before democracy, during the times of apartheid, were so disorganized by society such that they could only just hold on to this that could make them strong. I had that. I cannot call it a disadvantaged background from that perspective. But at the end of the day, life is as you want to define it. I never wanted to define mine in the negative. It always had to be in the positive.
How much of your identity, Musa, at that time was tied to what your body could do?
Oh, no, a lot. I could dance.
And moonwalk.
I was a dancer and I could moonwalk.
I remember those moonwalk.
I could, I've always loved the outdoors. I was a Boy Scout. You can't really be a Boy Scout in a wheelchair now because you're not going to be climbing any mountains. Yeah, all of what defined me then was also centered around what my body could do. Yeah.
And what did you take for granted?
I guess I took walking for granted, to be very honest with you. It was a natural ability that I did not really sit down to even think how important it could be. You only realize sometimes when things are gone just how important they were. And I guess I'm going to say it was walking because it's what was taken away. But there was also many other things that I believe I took for granted. I also took for granted that tomorrow was always going to be. Fact is, nothing says that because today is beautiful, that tomorrow is going to be there at all.
So true.
Or tomorrow is going to continue as today is. So I was living in the wind, let me put it that way, where every single day just took me everywhere, and I was taking for granted that it could simply freeze, and I was never going to be able to take things to where I thought today they could be tomorrow.
You know, Musa, I'm realizing as I speak to you now that you're quite a reflective person.
I think second chances force you to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like even before you got paralyzed,
Yeah.
even though, for me, as your younger sister, I always saw the social butterfly. Remember the poem? The social butterfly. I always saw the social butterfly.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize now that even in that social butterflyness, for lack of a better word, there was always something that you were reflecting on. Now, I want us to tap onto your reflective mind.
Yes.
And then say, looking back, what noise do you now realize wasn't truly yours?
I guess the noise that was really not mine was the competitive one. I was always very competitive. I'm not sure if it was bad then. As I've already indicated, life is a jungle and we need to be competitive to get our edge. But I think it was the type of competitiveness that was also a bit selfish because it was only just me. I would think that in building me, then I was going to be building the man, you know. With this second chance, I've discovered that I can be very competitive, but not necessarily deal with just empowering me, but also find my competitive edge in sharing this light with others and seeing them grow with me. Yeah. So that's the noise that I think, well, it was the noise of the times. And I'm not going to say I wish it was not. But with being granted this second chance, I really started believing that in developing another person, I could just also be developing my own wings. Amazingly, when I was working, I used to work for the University of Natal in the Teach, Test, Teach program.
I remember the
where
program.
I had to go out to developing communities, identify young Africans that had matriculated but did not have enough points to go into university. It went by very fast because I never really applied my mind to its significance. You know, that's the other thing that I wish I could really get to have under control. I live a very fast life where things happen on a second basis, and all of them are great moments. I then do not really give myself time to sit down and ponder, to say, look at what this means, or look at the direction that this is now unveiling. Before my paralysis, I never really gave myself that moment. But I'm only realizing now that really some of the things that I did when I was still walking were even greater than the things that I've done now. To take a child that has done very badly in matric and shape them for university study, with many of them that we identified never really collapsing when they got to university, but thriving, really means one started with this before society even changed, and in many ways became the foundation of this youth that is today, or the youth that was then, that is now in charge of institutions today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
No,
So I
definitely.
really wish I could go back, revisit those times, and really get to taste them, not just from this selfish perspective of I'm a junior lecturer at university, into I'm an instrument of social change, and I'm right there as society is changing, preparing this generation that was given to me to shape for what has come to be today.
Musa, that's a very powerful lesson
Yeah.
for me.
Yes.
Because if I'm hearing you very well, you are saying the noise before, the way that you took it in, it was the noise that was propelling D-man
Yeah.
to prove that he's D-man.
Yeah, then Musa Izulu is not the man.
And then
Musa
suddenly,
Izulu is the world.
Exactly.
The man was the man. Yeah.
Then you suddenly realize that actually the noise should not have been about inward looking.
Yeah.
You needed to use that positive noise that was coming in,
Yeah.
silence the one that talks about me, 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 me,
Yeah.
and amplify the one that talks about what am I in the context of a global ecosystem.
Ecosystem, yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, 20th of April happens, Musa.
Yeah.
You are now paralyzed. I'm interested in finding out what narratives about limitations or disabilities were you confronted by at that time?
You know, Thulis, it's very easy to tell a beautiful story,
Yeah.
especially if it's true.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about disability. I had absolutely no points of reference. Even the people with disabilities that were known, I just knew, but never really had anything that I could say I related to in as far as their lives were concerned, except for if the man was a musician and I loved his music. But it was loving the music than loving the person with the disability that was doing the music. I'm laughing and saying it's a beautiful story because sometimes when you do not know much about the room you are entering, that's when you are surprised.
Yeah.
Like, wow, now look at this. So I knew very little about disability, only to come into this, step into this space, and my eyes are opening to a completely different story that I would have ever thought was. Remember, I had no story.
Yeah,
But
no.
if at all somebody had said, what do you think of people with disabilities during my times as an able-bodied person, I would have most probably said, hey, I don't know. I've never really been exposed to them. But then you get exposed to them. And that's when you realize that, hey, these are not just individuals, this is a community. These people also have their own set of aspirations. Remember, people with disabilities do not only have needs, like you're granted, they also have aspirations like greatness. And these people do not only have needs and aspirations, but actually have a solution to their needs and are realizing their aspirations. And I remember, you know, my mother was a very amazing person because she would deliver a line to you that would suddenly just open your eyes to, look at this. She says to me when we were talking in hospital, when I'd just been paralyzed, because she would visit every day, and as a nurse would also be the one to answer certain questions or make things clearer to me that were medical. And I said to her, so Mama, I'm never going to moonwalk again like Michael Jackson. And I remember she was tucking my bed and she just said it, snapped like that and said, but there is Teddy Pendergrass.
Wow.
And there is Steve Kekanimus. I mean, when she left, I suddenly realized, hey, you have actually been playing Ray Charles all the time. Babs Mlangen, Andre Boschel.
Yeah.
Beethoven was going deaf as he was producing and composing some of his best classics. How do you go deaf and still hear sound? The world of disability becomes an amazing world because it is a contradiction of what many people think it is.
I want to go there.
Yeah.
I want to go there. What do people think it is? What noise?
They think the noise is it's either an ending or it's going to be a challenge. Well, to be honest with you, to some of us, it's continuity and victory. As plain as that. And I'm not only just talking about myself here. Remember, I've been in this wheelchair for 30 years now, and over 30 years, I've really come to be in close contact with people with disabilities to a point where you can see see and feel their light coming through. And that light on its own points to the fact that there is very little that we have accorded to disability that is its core mystery than just the stereotypes that we float around.
I want to go to the book that you are holding right now,
The Language of Me. Yes.
By the way, I don't know if I told you this. You got paralyzed in 1995.
Yes.
I read your book for the first time in 2015. Not because I didn't want to, because it, for me, was suddenly a
different story from
different story from the Musa that I used to admire and love.
Yeah.
And I was scared of what I might find in there.
Yeah.
That would change the perception, but I must say I was blown away.
Yeah.
But I'm deliberating going into that book.
Yeah.
You talk here about a certain doctor who basically, I want to go to this noise, that the perceptions that people have.
Yeah.
This doctor comes to you, says to you, Musa, you'll never get kids. And you fought that with everything that you had.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that time when mom is now tucking you in and you are saying to her, Mom, I'll never walk.
Yeah.
What were your fears when you were hearing all of these things?
I was always at the center of life, and I feared that I was now going to be pushed to the sidewalk. Number one, I did not know anything about disability, so the confusion of being a stranger in a strange world was crippling. Number two, I was a bit ashamed. I never really thought my independence could be taken away so easily. Now I needed someone to push me. Now I needed someone to change, because in the beginning everything is flat. You need someone to change your nappy. By the time you wake up, you have either soiled or wet the bed. It was terrible. And then I had to go back home only to discover that the beautiful steps that I used to
run up
as part of my daily exercises were now barriers. And I needed someone to carry me up there. Of course, it was my brothers and not a stranger caregiver. But still, the pain of realizing that your independence has been ripped away was just a bit too much. And then the shame of just facing people now that you are no longer the man that you had constructed yourself to be. How are they going to be looking at me? Are they still going to be connecting eyes or shying away? But then you just discover that with that spark of being you and the need to continue, people start locking eyes with you. People start saying words that they may just have been scared to tell you if that spark had not shown in your eyes, something like everything is going to be okay or time heals. Because if the spark dims it also scares a lot of people away.
Ooh, that's a
Many
powerful one,
relationships
yeah.
break at the point of a turning point, because people can no longer relate to each other. They are so scared to even cross the line.
What
But
was, yeah.
the spark then says to another person, maybe let me just help him blow it so that we see where it takes
Where it
us.
takes us.
And I guess this is what happened with me. And I'm happy that it happened that way because, as I say, it's not only my family that has carried me through. My friends, I never lost a friend, man,
I know.
after my paralysis. Instead, they
You gained
multiplied.
more, exactly.
And because of all of those elements that showed that things could still continue, I just held on and never let go.
What was the most difficult noise that you had to silence? Was it your voice, your inner voice, or was it the societal noise?
No, the societal one, I'll be very honest with you. People were so kind and so supportive that I knew that I was supported. The noise was always from inside, especially what Dr. Dutreba had intimated that I was no longer going to have children again. I never really just wanted a life that continues, as in myself continuing up until I die. I also wanted a generation that I could live my own children. So to have someone telling you that there is a possibility of never having children again was devastating. And I guess it was one of those things that I would just sit when things were shaping back to positive spins and spin-offs and just sit to think, well, even this positive that I'm experiencing, am I really going to just have it for me and never give it to my children? And when I then had children,
Wow.
everything just fell into place.
Yeah.
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 So
I-
from
I-
here,
I
from
also
what you are
worried- I
sorry,
also-
Musa, from what you are
Oh,
saying
yeah.
to me, then I'm hearing you saying that the noise was not necessarily the external noise; it was your inner noise.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
straight from hospital to Liz, to living my life again, society never really gave me any issues.
Sure.
It has always been me fighting against my own inner voices. Yeah, but honestly, I would never say there was any opportunity that society ever took away from me. In fact, there are many opportunities that I've taken away from myself, entertaining fears sometimes. Like the opportunity just to live free instead of fearing that I might not have children again. It takes away so much because the energy then is spent here when it should be on spreading my wings and flying away.
So what beliefs did you have to let go of?
I had to let go of the fact that being scared is a negative trait. I was never scared. I never really entertained any fears when I was still walking. I only start entertaining fears now that I'm sat in a wheelchair. But positive fears more than negative fears. I guess the only negative fear that I really spent a lot of time grappling with was that one, that I could just not have children. But the other fears were things that I could manage by simply imagining and showing that I could be the solution to even the fear itself.
You could be the solution to even the fear itself.
Yeah.
Help me understand that one. That is quite powerful.
Oh, do you know how
What
many
is
times?
that?
Do you know how many times we
Yeah.
open the door into an interview and are crippled by fear so much that we do not shine through? Imagine as you open the door realizing that you could actually be the solution to the fears by simply believing in yourself, believing that there is going to be a solution, and learning from someone else that might have entertained that solution to victory. Such is life.
Wow.
We can actually be the solutions to our own fears by simply opening up to who we are, what we can do, what others can do with us and for us. And in that way, creating collaborations that we lead that can take us very far.
You've actually brought an interesting aspect to this noise thing, because
Yeah.
for me, I've always thought that noise was external and that you had to silence it. Your noise has always been internal,
Most of my noises have always come from inside.
and it's quite powerful that you've been able to rise above that noise and
Turn the
make
noise into a solution.
into a solution.
Or turn the noise into a standing ovation.
Has your definition of strength changed? now that you have, now that you are disabled, you have this ability, because you like saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has my
Definition
of strength. No, strength is always strength. Approach to strength is something else. Some people approach strength by showing it outwards, and before you know it, they're called arrogant. Some people show strength by leaning on connections. Yeah. I lean on connections for my strength more than trying to define it as something that I can only give or define.
So it's evolved, it's become leaning on connections. And
Yeah.
you have a lot of those connections, Musa.
Oh, yes.
I admire that about that.
Yes, and some of them were always there, but I never really looked at them as my strength than just my, call it privileges if you want to, or associations.
And now let's talk about authenticity. What does authenticity feel like in your body now?
Authenticity means truth in being. And I believe that I'm very true in being what I am. Very authentic. I remember even after my paralysis that I thought the best thing that I was going to do is to introduce myself and my disability at the same time.
Let's talk about this ability.
You know, I'll tell you right
Yeah,
now, we're getting there. I often hear people with disabilities saying something like this, Thulis. Please do not see my disability, see me first. And I look at those people and I think, what the hell are you saying? Because when I enter through that door, you do not see me first, you see me and the wheelchair first. So authenticity sometimes is accepting yourself together with your other, what do you call this thing? Other points, where other people would think a certain point becomes discomfortable or uncomfortable if people amplify. Go to the mirror right now. If I go to the mirror right now, what I see is a man in a wheelchair. How then do I expect other people to be seeing me first and not in the wheelchair next? Authenticity is exactly that in as far as how I'm living my life now. I want to be seen for who and what I am at the same time and be judged as such. So if you start judging disability and think that you're not judging me, then you're not being authentic. Or if I present a disability first and not myself together with the disability, then I'm missing the equilibrium. Authenticity sometimes also points at mental equilibrium.
I want to tap onto that one because, Musa, for me, as your younger sister, it's actually quite amazing how you are just not afraid to speak the truth. Now let's speak about how do you express your truth today without fearing the discomfort of others?
If I'm comfortable with my truth, then I'm going to be very comfortable stating it as it is. And I'm not going to fear how you take it. How you take it is actually a bonus because then I know exactly what you think of me and what you think of my circumstance. Then we can start engaging. Yeah. You can't live in a world where you fear that someone has a certain opinion of you to a point of even arresting your own opinion of yourself. Then you are living in someone else's eyes. And this is exactly what I knew I was never going to allow myself to be a part of, a world where I only defined myself in someone else's eyes. Don't call me disabled. I cannot be disabled if I've come this far. Disabled people are immobilized. They cannot move. So mine is not a disability, mine is this ability. This ability to demonstrate that where I come from, I've walked all the way to here. This is what I can do versus this is what I cannot do. It's always this.
Yeah.
I'm a father, for goodness sake. When a doctor said
You can't
it
be
can't
a
be,
father.
I said to him, this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
One of the greatest statements we can ever make when we wake up in the morning is not good morning, it's this is it.
Sure.
If all of us could wake up with that spirit of this is it, then today is going to be then just another moment.
Sure. Musa, you have a purpose. Honestly, you have a purpose in various forms, in this ability, in the things that you have done. Now I want you to brag, because you've been able to silence this noise. You've been able to silence even your own noise and rise above it. So obviously this journey has revealed a purpose. You are carrying a book there. There's these as well. Tell us about what it has revealed about your purpose.
It has revealed everything, honestly. It has just revealed everything, that I can be anything that I wish to be.
What are you doing now?
Retired and enjoying myself at home, looking at my daughters growing and my wife also maturing. Do you know that I was a pensioner at the age of 23? Wow.
Yeah.
When that company that I was working for said, unfortunately, we cannot continue with you, we're going to put you on pension. How many times do you get a pension at 23 and that pension takes you through up until today?
Sure.
What that company gave me was not a pension. It was a break from the usual to something unusual. And I've enjoyed it up until today. I can literally afford to sit Thulisile for a whole month doing nothing because I have a pension that is paid to me. And that pension, I should not even have been given because I had only worked for that company for 10 months. But what I had produced in those 10 months and the relationships that I had helped establish together with my projects and programs for human resources development were such that that company said, wow, let's give you a pension and you'll see what you do with your spare time. I write books. I'm never under pressure to do anything. I've been in a wheelchair for 30 years, and each and every year that I've lived in a wheelchair, I've always been given an award. I have 2 daughters when medicine at one point in time said it was impossible. I have a wife in a world where they think a male with a disability stands no chance with a beauty. I drive a car when people think that disability means immobility.
Sure.
I am what I am and will never wish to be anything else in a world where stereotype says better enabled than disabled.
Sure.
I can't ask for more. I only lose my mother at 54 when there are other children that lost their mothers at 2, 16, 20. I still have a father who wakes up in the morning to go and play tennis and is a professor at a university. I have sisters, brothers, all of them thriving in their own lives. What more can I ask for? Then I'm right here today, interviewed by my own little sister and getting the opportunity to reflect on life so deeply.
Yeah.
How many people sit with a family member to have such conversations that are going to be flighted for the world to fully understand that at the core of life still lies family? I've lived a charmed life, Mina, truly. I could never ask for more. I even jokingly say to my audiences, if I were to wake up tomorrow and discover that I can walk, the first thing that I would do is check if my wife has seen. And if she has not seen it, I would sit in this wheelchair, never to be seen by the world walking again, because I would lose my job.
Because this is the...
This is me now. This is it.
I love it.
Yes, ma.
I love it.
It's true. Yeah.
Just before maybe we end, Musa, I have 2 questions. The one is linked to what you said about TTT.
Yeah.
And what it meant for you when you were reflecting after being paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then you start in Ndimezulu with your friend Undimeni. What was that?
Another milestone.
Yeah.
You know, I met Musa Ndimeni about a month or 2 after I was paralyzed, and we became friends. He actually taught me how to drive a car. I was taught to drive a car by a person in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Remember, I drove before.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
talking about now driving a car using
Yeah, with the
hand controls. And I remember Ovosi would always say to me, you know, Musa, we will only be truly free to say we've done something the day we turn our fears into solutions. Do you remember that I said so
Yes,
before?
yeah.
And this one day was set in this conference, and one of the things that is being discussed is students with disabilities face a problem accessing tertiary study. Now, I'm not talking about going to your special schools. I'm talking about going to
Yeah,
universities.
exactly.
And the problem is funding, the problem is attitudes, the problem is this, and this, no policy, da, 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 da. And Vusi says to me, and he looks at me, and he says, I look at him and I say, what do you mean? He says, we are going to have to be the solution.
Sure.
So we start in Ndimezulu Trust, combining our surnames, Uzulu, non-Ndimeni. Ndimezulu is a wide field where
Yeah.
you sow seeds that
And
are
they
going to grow,
germinate, yeah.
germinate. And we start this bursary program. And there is something that we discovered, Tina, Tuli, right from the beginning, that alone, when I enter a boardroom, it's very difficult to say no to me, especially when I'm talking sense and I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Two of us in a wheelchair talking sense, we're not going to come in and not get exactly what we want. So from department to department, private sector company to another, Ndimeni and I would go and say, children with disabilities are finding it difficult accessing tertiary education, and we are going to be the solution to that. How are you going to do it? We are going to take your money and pay for these students to go to university. And everybody would look at us and like, wow, that's a very good idea. So this is exactly what we did from 2006 to 2018, going from door to door saying, students with disabilities need to go to university. But remember, any story that remains the same suddenly becomes redundant. So on year number 3, when we already had graduates, we would now go to them and say, look at what your money has done.
Yeah.
Your money can do more.
Yeah.
We only ended in Ndimezulu Trust in 2018 after 127 students with disabilities had been given bursaries to go to colleges and universities for 3-year degrees. That was just the mandate.
Wow.
We're not going to be giving you to go and do your 6-month internship, whatever here, that you are then not going to be able to apply in terms of opening doors to 3-year degrees or 3-year diplomas. And that's what we did with Ndimeni. And I'm calling it my second highlight because TTT, before I was paralyzed, was exactly that. But what is the difference between how I looked at things was before TTT, it was like, wow, I'm a junior lecturer now.
Yeah.
But within Ndimezulu Trust, it was look at the seeds that we have
Exactly.
now thrown onto
Yeah.
onto the soil to germinate.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking us back there because we are now tying these 2 points as the interview is winding down.
You are given an opportunity,
Yeah.
a magic wand by the man above.
Yeah,
And he says, go back, Musa, and talk to your 8-year-old self.
yeah.
What would you say to that person?
What would I say to my?
To your 8-year-old self.
I would say, wow, a roller coaster is just about to begin. Just wait until you are 23 and your life is going to change for better. The 8-year-old me had all the time in the world to dream. But if I were to go back to him, I would tell him that you have not dreamed the possible dream. It was this. When this finally happens to you, 8-year-old Musa, you will finally get to discover that dreams can come true. The best thing that ever happened to me, or the best thing that is just about to happen to you, Musa, is you are going to grow and be 23 and sit in a wheelchair, and it will define the best of you. This wheelchair experience took me to the whole world in a way that I would have never thought life could ever take me. It has been the most beautiful thing to ever happen to me. Unfortunately, you can't wish it for another person because they may just not have the same chances. But I wish this for the 8-year-old me. To hold your own book in your hands that is 20 years old and is now prescribed in universities around the world is what I want that 8-year-old to know is going to be coming their way if they just wait.
Sure.
It was not waiting for me, it happened by, wow, what is happening now? But if I could just whisper to that boy that, hey, at 23, things are going to happen that are going to take you everywhere, I would love to do that. But then I would be chancing him of his own surprises. But honestly, that's what I would say to him. The best is still to come.
Oof. Musa,
Yeah.
we end there. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard what Musa had to say about his life. For those, it began in you are 55 this year.
I'm turning 55.
Turning 55 this year.
Yeah.
On the 20th of April, Musa got paralyzed, and instead of letting that define who he is and letting the noise of the world that defines what paralysis should be like, he actually turned that into a positive and turned it into this ability. The noises that he had to silence were not just the outside noises alone, it was also the inner voices. And what he did was he took those inner voices and he turned that fear into a solution. And what an amazing solution that you have come up with. An author now, a very well-known person in the disability world, has worked in various places where you are putting a face to this ability and making people realize that it's not a limitation, but actually a thing that propels you forward. Musa, I am in awe, and thank you very much for coming to my show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And how beautiful it is. I was actually sitting and thinking, what am I going to do on the 20th of April? I know that in the morning I'm going to be waking up to go to FNB in Pietermaritzburg.
Yes.
Why? Because the Valhalla Arts, which is my company, celebrated 20 years last year. And I opened my bank account at Liberty Mall. So I phoned them to say, hey, my company is 20 years old. I'm coming to you on the 20th of April to sign everybody books. And I was thinking, what am I going to do in the afternoon? I think I know exactly what I'm going to do in the afternoon. I'm going to collect the best of my friends. You do the same. And we're going to be sitting somewhere where we're going to be watching this interview.
This one.
This
Love
interview.
It. Would love
so
it.
we'll treat it like a premiere. Because honestly, this is the best interview that I've ever done in my whole life.
Wow, Musa.
I mean it, and I'm not saying it because you're my sister. Remember, yesterday can never be better than today.
Oof.
Yeah.
Thank you. On that note, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Sure.
Wow.
Thank you.